So this is your average miter saw blade, and this is the 24-inch industrial chop saw blade. So it's super safe. So now you have a higher horsepower motor on this upcut saw. You have a bigger blade. Whenever you're using a miter saw and it goes bang, right? You look for your fingers and stuff like that. So this is an upcut saw, and in today's video, I'm gonna show you why our company uses this machine 90% of the time, and we rarely ever use a miter saw. So I'm gonna show you what this machine is, how it works, and why I bought it from my industrial wood shop. And at the tail end of the video, I'm gonna kind of explain like the numbers behind it and why I made this purchase over just multiple miter saws. So this thing comes in like 11 or 1,000 pounds, and the saw blade even weighs 20 pounds. So this thing is the absolute beast. And why I'm doing this video is because when I was coming up in the wood industry, nobody really talked about these things, right? I only thought there was a miter saw out there. And so it took through going to multiple different people to finally understand like this machine exists. And after I bought it, it only helped and improved my growth and the business potential of my wood shop. So I hope this video brings you a lot of value. I hope you get a lot of value from this. And if it does, don't forget to like and subscribe. And stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Okay, so what is an upcut saw? So for those of you who don't know how an upcut saw works or how it even operates, I have this handy dandy little cardboard thingamajig I made that I want to show you. So here's our saw blade right here that I cut out expertly. And then we have our pieces of material, okay? So a miter saw works in a way where the blade comes down. Everybody knows how a miter saw works, right? The blade comes down, goes through the material, then comes back up, right? Well, an upcut works in a way where the blade comes from the bottom, hence the name upcut, and actually comes up through the material to cut it through the bottom like this, okay? Now, how does this make this machine better? How is it different than a miter saw? Well, one, you can have a lot bigger blades because your arm is not in the way of pulling this thing down, right? So you can have these giant, massive blades like my blade that's 2 foot. Well, if you have bigger blades, you can cut wider material. Or they even make 3-foot blades for these things, so I don't even have the biggest blade. Absolutely crazy, right? And it goes all the way down to a 12-inch blade, which is like a normal miter saw, okay? So once again, the blade comes up from the bottom, cuts the material, but what's really cool about an upcut that you can't really find in a miter saw and why I really like them is that there's this arm that comes down and actually holds down the material, okay? So there's arm that comes down, it's hollow, and it'll hold down the material for you. And then the blade will come up, cut the material, the blade shoots down, and this arm lifts up. So the whole time, even if stuff is crooked on here, like say you put this piece of material in here and it's completely sideways, okay? If you would do that, I don't know if you can see that, if you would do that on a miter saw, you would cut that, right? This would jam back, stuff would shoot, it would make a loud pop, you'd look for your fingers, because that's what everybody does whenever you're using a miter saw and it goes bang, right? You look for your fingers and stuff like that. That doesn't really happen with an upcut saw. So this arm, upcut saw, the blade's in the bottom, saw blade, this arm comes down, blade comes up, cuts the material, holds it down with a lot of force. Like it'll snap a pencil in half if you want to think of how much force it does. You can set those forces on how much you want it to hold down, but it will hold down a pencil, okay? So arm comes down, holds down the material, blade comes up, blade goes down, arm comes up. So it's super safe. So now you have a higher horsepower motor on this upcut saw, you have a bigger blade, and you're safe because you don't have to worry about this miter saw coming down and snagging a piece and shooting it off, and then you're scared looking for your fingers, right? And so that's a huge advantage of an upcut versus a miter saw. One of the things on my particular upcut, it can't swivel, right? So I can't do angled cuts, big downer, but I do have a miter saw for that when I need to use it. So that's the 10% of the time I do use that miter saw. So let me show you this in real life. On how this works, but I do hope this is a kind of a good example because they try to overcomplicate it. All right, so this is the inside of the saw blade side of this. I'll bring you around and show you the other side and show you some of the stuff we just talked about with the cardboard box. But this is the massive blade right here that's going to shoot up into this arm. And this is one of the dust collection ports right here. It's a 4-inch port. And so I just have this open just to show you this massive saw blade that's going to be spinning like this and cutting the material. So it's really cool. There's a lot of safety features, so this thing cannot turn on. I'm not going to cut off my fingers or anything like that. But yeah, so this is the saw blade in the machine. So let's hop to the other side so I can show you the kind of the guts of it and how big the motor is, and then we'll start using it. So it has all these little hard keys to open up so nobody can really get in there. and so you can lose these things. Then you open it up and you see we have a massive motor right here. I'm gonna put the horsepower on the screen because I forgot it. We have this massive motor with a lot of pulleys and all that good stuff. And this will actually, this right here will actually swivel and push the blade up into it. So this is kind of the inner workings. You can see there's a lot of sawdust because we use this every day. I don't try to make my shop look like it's super clean. This is what it is. And so anyways, that's kind of how this works and what the insides look like. All right, so to get this thing started, we turned our dust collector on. We turn our air on right there. We turn our guard air on right here, and we press start. And you can hear it just whine. If you're in person, it's super, super loud. So let's watch this bad boy cut. So why did I buy this saw for my shop, and why do we use it 90% of the time, right? Well, money-wise, it's not worth it on the optimization of like speed, you would say, right? So this thing run me about $15,000, which the average miter saw, let's say, is about 500 bucks. So this is a 30 times the cost of a miter saw. So it's not about the money, right? Because I have to have more dust collection, a little bit more floor space, right? I have to have air compressor to it. This is a high voltage 3-phase machine, so it's not about any of those factors. The single factor that I bought this machine on was safety, okay? Because when you're running an industrial shop, right, when that miter blade's coming down, there's a lot of chances for people to get their fingers caught in it. And if somebody gets their finger caught, one, I don't want to live with being the boss of somebody that cuts their finger off. That's not good. I don't want my people to have stumpy nubs like this. I also don't want, on the business side, to all the insurance and all that stuff. So this machine for $15,000 is going to prevent people from cutting off their fingers. Why? Because they have to press these two buttons right here, okay? That is a huge factor. I used to have the foot pedal one, but what the foot pedal one does is if you're on a roll, and you're sending all this wood through, what happens is they use the foot pedal and you can still get caught up. Now, if you look online, there's a lot of cabinet shops out there that take off this right here and only have this. So sometimes you'll see pictures and you won't have this guard on here. It's not a big deal to us to have this guard on there. Some of those older cabinet shops, they have it on there. Once again, I just don't want anybody to get their fingers cut off on my watch. So I'll spend a little bit extra money to get an industrial piece of equipment like this for the safety reasons. Now the reason I got the 24-inch blade is, as you saw in the video, we were able to cut off like a 2-foot chunk of wood, where a miter saw only goes to about 12 inches, maybe 13 inches. And so when we get these wide pieces of 8-quarter wood in that are 12 foot long, it's really dangerous for us to cut it, flip it, and try to cut on the other side, and it's real wonky and stuff like that. So for this reason only is pure safety, not money, not space, not utilization. It is a little bit faster than the miter saw in the grand scheme of things, but it is like 50 times safer, 100 times safer, and that's why I got this saw. So I hope this helped. I hoped that you are you're better now than when you started watching this video, because once again, when I was coming up, there was not videos out there teaching me about this type of equipment. And I really wish it was, because it would have really helped me along my woodworking journey, and I hope this is helping you along your journey as you try to make money woodworking, or you're just interested in cool machinery like this. So thanks for watching. Have a great day, and stay tuned for what's coming.